So there's 9 core cases that we're going to be talking about today, and we'll go through them. You know, I don't want to go through them too quick, because I know that I spent a lot of time on the beginning, but I'll go through them in depth, each of them. So the first is mixed files, and I have slides for all of these, so don't worry about writing it all down because there's going to be plenty of time. Um, Mixed files, and within mixed there's 2 categories: a mixed file and a merged file, and we talked about that last week. Identity theft, and given the 2017 Equifax hack, we are finding that the rate of people who have been victimized by identity theft has skyrocketed and increased so much. Even myself, I had uh, uh, I have a I have a Capital One card that when they were mailing to me, I guess someone stole it from my mail and tried to activate it, and thankfully I was able to catch it, and I was able to stop it in time. But a lot of people may not recognize what's going on and may think that, and they don't realize it until much later that they've been the victim of identity theft. So, and then even within the identity theft category, there's 2 types of identity theft. There's the type of identity theft where you never open this account at all. This is the account was fraudulently opened. You never provided your consent to it. You did not fill in the paperwork. You are you don't know at all where this came from, and you never authorized this. And then there's the other type of identity theft where you opened this account, or the consumer opened this account and had been using the account, but some thief or thieves gained access to your account, and are now making charges on your account, which is the account takeover category. And within the account takeover category, there's stuff that happens too. There's friendly fraud that takes place where people, like a family member, steals it, and there's all kinds of stuff that happens. But identity theft is definitely on the rise. I will tell you also that identity theft happens a lot in the context of ex-spouses or ex-lovers who may have access to uh, the victim information, or that someone is identifying information. It is something to keep in mind. If you guys see, if any of you see any of these uh, core cases or any of the matters that I'm listed here, you should contact us basically right away, or with the credit information. If you've already sent one round of disputes, that's fine. After that, you can say that, hey, we're gonna transfer you to an attorney for further review if there is something that you need, if you want to review. Also, in the context of post-bankruptcy credit reporting, when someone has filed for bankruptcy, all of the accounts in their on their credit report should say that the uh, accounts have been discharged in bankruptcy, all of the balances should get updated to be zero. All of the notes should say discharged in bankruptcy. It is possible that post bankruptcy, uh, creditors may still be reporting a balance. And actually, in the bankruptcy context, there is a lot of potential for creditors or the credit reporting agencies to screw it up because uh, they they may mark it as they may not mark it as discharge. They may be reporting a balance. They may still be trying to collect a debt. They may have sent it to a debt collector. There's a lot of things that come up, and it could trigger a lot of consumer protection rules and laws. And so it's something to keep in mind that in the post bankruptcy credit reporting context, that uh, balances on the credit report should be reflecting with a zero balance. There should be no balance being reported on a credit report um, after the accounts were discharged in bankruptcy. Deceased status. This is when the credit reporting agencies have marked you as being dead. And when that happens, your credit score goes to zero. Your It depends on how it happens because there are times when um, the there are times when only one credit reporting agency will mark you as dead, and the other two you'll be fine. There's a time where two of them, and it's very rare that all three will mark you dead. But it's unlikely that that will happen, that all three will mark you dead. But it's usually one or max two, and uh, it it creates all kinds of havoc because your credit score will go to zero. Creditors may be confused. Some of them may call you, others of them may close your account without telling you. They'll just assume that you actually did die. Um, and it creates all kinds of problems. So if you ever see a consumer who's been marking your office or talking to you, then you should probably reach out to us about it. Re-aging, this is when a creditor uh, has re-aged a debt on your credit report. So, for instance, a on your credit report from like let's say it's supposed to fall off in August. What the creditor may do is they could update the date of last activity, refresh the time period that it's on the credit report. It's very important to go one by one with the consumer through each account and trade line on their credit report. I know that that sounds like it's impossible to do, but it is not. It would take 20 to 30 minutes, and maybe instead of you doing it yourself, you have to create processes and have, maybe have virtual assistant and app. then uh, the last activity was, you know, improperly refreshed, unless you talk to unless you talk to the consumer and you ask them about it, and you know, actually have that conversation with them. Um, Debt defense victory cases. This is when the consumer has been get a dismissal with prejudice, and there's a big difference between dismissal with prejudice and dismissal without prejudice. But in our context, we're talking about dismissal with prejudice. If a matter has been dismissed with prejudice, that means that um, the balance should now be zero on the credit report because the consumer has defeated the attempt to sue them to in order to collect it, and it's not just dismissed without prejudice where the creditor can refile. Uh, if it's been dismissed with prejudice, then um, then uh, then the then it is final, and the consumer the balance should be updated to be zero. Um, double reporting. Double reporting. This is when two creditors are reporting the same account and both are reporting a balance. It's one thing if if two furnishers were reporting the same account but only one had a balance. That would be technically okay because it would be historical data, and it depends on when it was, you know, the trade line and all that stuff. But you know, as long as they're reporting it accurately, it's not that, you know, much of an issue. But uh, both both cannot report a balance. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, that uh, the creditors, two can report, but only one can report with a balance. Post debt settlement credit reporting, and actually even during debt settlement credit reporting. So this is when, let's say, a consumer has a $25,000 bill and they've been sued, or even if they haven't been sued, they have a $25,000 credit card. And let's say the consumer is able to make an agreement, with the creditor about a reduced balance, um, and has been making payments on it, then the balance should get updated on the credit report, right? Because now there's been a new change in terms with the creditor. And then also when let's say there has been a settlement and the consumer has paid off the complete balance and has finished paying, then uh, the balance should be zero. So a lot of times what happens is, let's say there's a $25,000 debt, and let's say you settle for $10,000, then either the creditor screws it up and applies the $10,000 as only a payment, and then there's this deficiency balance, right, of this $15,000 would still show, um, or they just don't update the balance at all, and it's still reflecting with a balance, even though it should be updated with a $0 balance. And so that's something to keep in mind. And then the last thing are 1099-Cs. Right now, this is the time of year around tax season where a lot of consumers are receiving 1099s, and this is something to ask about to your consumers: is, have you received a 1099? And uh, you should then uh, you know figure out what to do with it, whether it's to call them and to confirm that the debt has been canceled and forgiven, and that's usually the best thing I would say to do. Or you can write to them and request that. But the 1099 alone is not enough to evidence the dismissal, the discharge, or sorry, the cancellation of the debt. You need to confirm that with the creditor in order to make sure that the debt has actually been discharged.